Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Cold Hard Sports Talk with your hosts, Matty B and Woodsy.
Alrighty, guys, we are here with our guest for today, former Camrose Kodiak, and oddly enough, comes full circle. He's now the head coach of said Camrose Kodiaks, played in the NCAA as well, coached in the SJHL and the NCAA as well. Clayton Jardine is our guest today. Clayton, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Happy to be on here with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. This is going to be a lot of fun because there's a lot of connections from past interviews and stuff. We'll get into that in a bit here. But first off, we just kind of want to get into your career and talk about kind of some stories that you had and just kind of the way that you managed to get to where you are now. You start with the Red Deer Chiefs. When you were kind of getting ready to go play after Bantam, what is now U15, what were kind of the options for you, and how did you manage to find your way to Camrose in 07-08?
It was pretty simple in the sense, but it also wasn't, because at the time, I didn't know the difference between the WHL and the Junior A. I was kind of naive to it all, which is unfortunate, because now the internet's buzzing and everyone has agents and advisors and everything. But I got drafted in the WHL. Okay, I'm gonna go to, at that point it was the Kootenay Ice. So I just went and tried out for the Kootenay Ice and got cut at 16 years old, and went to the Camrose Kodiaks and made the team, and the rest is history. And Dallas Ferguson, who was the coach of the Alaska Nanooks, Alaska Fairbanks at the time, now he's the assistant coach at Denver. He talked to me at 16. He's like, "Hey, do you want to play NCAA hockey?" I'm like, "What's NCAA hockey?" Like I didn't know what it was or anything about it, right? And Dallas and I, we joke about that until this day, that I had zero clue, and he kind of put me on the path to NCAA, but then I didn't go play for him. So that's kind of the joke. But Kootenay Ice said, "You can't make this team." Camrose Kodiaks, I made the team. We had an unbelievable team that year. We had 6 guys that ended up playing the NHL. Like junior A hockey, 6 guys that ended up playing the NHL. It's unheard of. So I was just lucky to just be on that team, be a part of that team that year, and best year of hockey I've ever been a part of. So it's kind of cool how you guys asked that question, and probably the best year of my hockey career. So it's cool how it all happened.
Well, there's some big names on the team. Like you said, 6 of them ended up playing the NHL. I think the big one is Joe Colburn. When you see it, did you know like some of these guys were going to do something big like that? Like, could you just tell that they were a little bit different?
Yeah. And Joe took a different path. Like he went to Notre Dame, and then he came back and played for the Camrose Kodiaks. So I never really played against him. But Dylan Olsen was my age, and he was a big, massive defenseman who could do everything: shoot, skate. He's physical and everything, right? And then Carl Stollery was a 20-year-old defenseman who ended up making the NHL. Kind of like the best story of, he played midget AA as a 17-year-old and ended up in the NHL. Like you don't hear of it, right? Then Alan York and Andrew McWilliam, another big defenseman. So it's kind of stories from all over the place. And then Mike Conley, who's the last guy, just a small centerman who played on Joe Colburn's line. So yeah, Joe was the big name, and honestly though, he's the best human being in the world. But I don't know if I'd say it to his face, but I didn't know who he was until I got on the team, right? But like as soon as I got on the team, best human being in the world, treated me like him and I went to school together every day. I was in grade 11, he was in grade 12, off the ice. And then when playoffs got deeper and deeper and deeper, I wasn't playing very much. Joe was playing penalty kill, power play, first line, and playing 25 minutes a night. I wasn't playing, and he was first guy on the ice, last guy off the ice, and same with me. I just it was like whatever Joe does, I do, right? And he wanted that, and he was a 17-year-old guy who was going to get drafted in the first round. He didn't care. So yeah, Joe is a special human being, and a special guy, and yeah, he got everything that came to him, he earned, right? And people can say whatever they want about professional athletes, but Joe was the real deal, and he's a special guy.
And that year, you got to go play for Canada Pacific at the U17 World Hockey Championships, which is cool. And there's two big names on that team that stood out to me: Evander Kane and Tyson Barrie. How cool is it to just be a part of that experience of going to play against, I guess, some of the best players of your age group in the world?
Yeah, like Team Ontario was ridiculous. They had, well, Hall isn't my age, but he was on that team, and they had Duchesne. They had so many ridiculous players. It wasn't even close. They won the tournament by a lot of goals. But yeah, we had Barrie, and we had Kane, and Evander Kane is quite the teammate. Yeah, I joke about it to this day. There's so many stories about Evander. He was just like, he was in his own world, right? And Tyson's the other way. Tyson was awesome. Tyson was the man. Just wanted to get to know everyone, but Evander was kind of just like, you know what? They called me to London, Ontario. I'm going to go play 5 hockey games and go back to the Vancouver Giants and play hockey. It's just like, whatever, right? And so it's just like, that was kind of eye-opening to me. It's just like, as a professional athlete, you got to worry about yourself, right? Like, you got to be you, and you got to worry about yourself and make sure that you perform. It's not like, oh, I need to meet these 22 guys that I just became a part of a team. Like for me, it's like, that's why I enjoy getting into coaching, is like, I want to be a part of the team. I want to get to know everyone, right? But that's where I'm thankful for that. And, it might sound terrible talking how I'm talking about Evander Kane, but I learned like how to deal with a professional athlete, right? If I wouldn't have played on that team, I'd have zero clue how to deal with a high-end professional athlete. So it's like, there are some people out there who don't give a shit about the team. They don't give a shit about you, me, whoever is on this call. Like, it doesn't matter. All they care about is, when I put my skates on, I play to the best of my ability. I don't give a shit about the chemistry of the team, who I'm on a line with. Like, they don't look at the board and be like, oh, you're going against this line tonight. Like, no. Tell me who's on my line a minute before the game and what way they shoot. Like, that's all they care about, right? So that was eye-opening to me, but something I'm very thankful for. And it was something very interesting, because he's a high-profile athlete that is still playing the game, make a ton of money. So it was something I'm very thankful for.
Yeah, he's made a little bit of money, as some Instagram pictures have shown that, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Throughout the next few years, you went from 7 points in your first season to 33 the next year. And like, was it just like you had a year in the league and you managed to just kind of like feel more comfortable?
Another year bigger, another year stronger.
Yeah, you just kind of kept improving.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hope none of my players hear this, but it's like, it's opportunity, right? Like, everyone just wants that opportunity. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. It's like, hey, put me in this role, and I will do whatever I can to do the best, right? So like we said, we had 6 NHL hockey players on our team. So like, 7 points is all I could get. Like, all the guys were that good on the team. It's like, I couldn't make the third line checking role, because, back in 2007, it was, you had your top 6, right? Everyone talks about a top 6, but now it's a top 9 or it's a top 12, right? But back in 2007, it was a top 6, it was a checking line, and then it was your fourth line played 5 minutes a night, right? So our top 6, we had Joel Coburn, Mike Conley, and we had a bunch of other guys that went and played Division I hockey, and they were all 18 and 19-year-old hockey players. And our third line was the toughest line in probably the whole world, right? So it's like, I'm not playing in the top 9, so 7 points is all I'm gonna muster. So but like, I say that in the joking way, but it's like, I wouldn't change it for the world. It's like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, I wish I could be in that top 6. I'm so bitter about it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I learned from those guys that played on the third line. I learned from those guys that played in the top 6, and I'm thankful for that, right? It's not, yeah, we won a Doyle Cup and we lost in the RBC final 1-0, and, you know, I'm pissed off about it. I should have been on the top 6 in the RBC. Like, that's not at all it. I'm the most thankful human being in the world, and I was the guy sitting in the stands, right? So that's where, no, it was all about opportunity. And, you know, I couldn't find my way into the lineup as a 16-year-old. I was 5'9", 130 pounds and 16 years old, and I wasn't ready to play against a bunch of Humboldt Broncos who were 20 years old with full beards, and you know, they'd go for their pregame skate at the RBC, and they'd all be wearing no shoulder pads, and it looked like they were wearing shoulder pads. So it was like, yeah, I don't need to be on the ice with these guys. So no, it's all about opportunity, and that's exactly what it was. Then in my second year, yeah, it was just everyone left and I got to play hockey.
And like throughout those next couple years, you continued to improve, and then you became captain in your last year there. Just being named captain, just how cool is that to be, you know, named the, you know, kind of the leader of that group? Yeah,
and that was another fun year. You know, you asked me 2 best years of my life. Those are the best 2. My first year with Kodiaks, playing with all those guys, but then my last year when I was the captain, and then my brother joined the team as well. So I was the captain of the Camrose Kodiaks. My brother joined the team, and we were hosting the RBC. So, you know, we knew we were hosting the RBC. Then my brother ended up getting drafted at the end of that year. So, you know, if you want to write a book and you want to say something about it, it's like captain of a team that hosted the RBC championship. We lost in the semifinals, obviously, to Pembroke, who won it. You don't bring it up, but that's what happened. But yeah, and then 2 months later, then my brother gets drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks. So it was a pretty cool year. And then get to go to college a month after that. So that was a whirlwind summer, and it was probably the best summer of my life. But yeah, like you said, get to be the captain of the Camrose Kodiaks, which is just special in itself. And then host an RBC and play with your brother, and he gets drafted. So it was all really cool. And yeah, a year that I'll tell to this day.
And
was there any we all know how siblings can kind of be, was there any kind of like, you're the captain, your younger brother makes the team? Was there any kind of like going a little extra hard on him, you know, making the rookie kind of earn his stripes a little bit since you're your captain and his older brother?
Yeah, well, we always, yeah. To answer your question first, yes, there was that. Like, but Sam was like, all right, he's just being my brother. Like, he has to pick me out and yell at me because Clayton's my brother. So he knew when that was coming. But most of the time, I was just mad or angry at him. But also just on top of that, like, I like to be like 20, 30 minutes early for something, and Sam's like, I'll be there on the minute. Tell me what minute I need to be there, and I'll be there. So it was like I'm the captain of the team, and like we should drive to the rink together, or we should just get on the bus together. It's like, no, Clayton was there 30 minutes before. And I was like, Sam, I am not leaving the house with you. I am leaving. You can come whenever you want. If you're late, it's your fault. So it was that was kind of the joke too. It was like, I would show up and then Sam would bring his own vehicle. I was like, don't you guys live in the same house? It's like, I'm not driving with Sam because Sam pushes the limit. He will be there 30 seconds before you're supposed to be there. So that was, yeah, it was just the whole thing of just being a family member and living with the guy is, yeah, for the whatever it was, 250 days we lived together. It was pretty stressful, but you know, I'll still tell the story to this day. But yeah, at the time, very stressful.
And you were able to win an AJHL title there, and how you managed to get to an RBC Cup. When you look back, we always ask our guests this: do you have any good trophy stories? Mainly with the AJHL trophy, possibly.
Yeah, I do, but did you have any intel on this or no?
We've heard one story from one of your former teammates, and I don't know if it's the same story you're gonna tell though. But we'll compare notes after you tell us the story.
No, it's I still look up, at the stall today because it was very special. And it was just fun. Like you only win a trophy maybe once, maybe twice in your life. So that was the fun part. But no, I didn't think you were gonna ask the question, but it's just like as soon as you ask the question, it pops into your head. It's like, no, I did this. Like I don't think about it unless I'm looking exactly where I was. So our room is very long, and then there's only 3 stalls at the back of it, right? So we won that AJHL trophy, and I took that AJHL trophy, and our rink was built that year. That exact year that my first year was the first year of the rink. So this is our first year of the dressing room, and we won an AJHL championship. So we're celebrating an AJHL championship the very first year that the rink was built. So it was perfect. The dressing room goes very long, and then, like I said, 3 stalls at the end. And so I didn't grab the trophy, but I got up on the stall, which they're high stalls as well, and I just sat on that stall, and someone gave me the trophy. And I just sat up there for probably 20 minutes with the trophy, and there's just so many pictures of me just sitting up there with the trophy and just hanging out with the trophy, right? And it's like it's whatever. It's like the first time you have anything, right? It's just like that feeling, that look that you have in that trophy, and something you can't explain to anyone that hasn't had that trophy, right? And hasn't done it before. So it's like, and then thankfully there's no record or anything, but it's like all I was saying to that trophy is like, you're never leaving my side. Like, I want, like, we're every year I'll see you at the end of the year, every year. So
like something out of Lord of the Rings, right? Like my precious.
Yeah. It's like Frodo. Like Frodo, you're never leaving my side. I'm holding on to you. It was like Bilbo gave me the ring, and I'm holding on to it. Right. So yeah, that's what it was. And my second year we didn't come close, but my third year we lost in the league finals. My fourth year we lost in the league finals, and it was terrible, right? Because you talk about it with your teammates, like, guys, this is what we can do if we get this trophy, right? So it was awesome. And yeah, I hope that's the story you've heard of me with the trophy, but
no, we didn't hear this story about you particularly, but we've heard from friend of the podcast, Nolan Kaiser, said, I believe it was Kaiser that said this, right?
I think it was Bernsey.
Was it Bernsey?
No, Kaiser didn't play with me that year, but Bernsey did. So Bernsey probably has it.
Okay. Well, one of them told us that the AJHL trophy, if you can unscrew something on it, and if you look inside, there's like signatures in there from like players who had won it.
Yeah.
Is your signature in there?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
it is. It is. But
I believe Bernsey was the one who told us that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's yeah. I'll admit to that. I just wanted to be like, I wanted to wait till my players were like, we had it, and I was like, okay, now I'll show you guys, right? But it's like, that'd be such a thing. Like the players would be like, they'd be on cloud 9, and I'd be like, hey, come look at my signature, and they'd be like, oh, cool, coach, sweet. We just won an AJHL championship. I don't care.
Oh, well, sorry, we spoiled the surprise now.
No, that doesn't matter at all. It's like I have it built up in my head. It's like, that'd be a cool thing, but then it's like thinking about, like, the players would be like, sweet, coach.
Well, now that we've kind of mentioned it, we've talked about a couple former teammates of yours who we've had on the podcast before, Nolan Kaiser and Jeremy Barnes. Do you have any stories in mind of playing with those two guys?
Kaiser was probably the biggest lover of video games that I've ever been a part of. Like, I've had so many teammates that love video games, and I mean, to each their own. I'm the worst video game player ever, so I can't speak to it. But Kaiser loved video games. So there's at one point, like at 16, he was the best defenseman. Like you couldn't stop the guy. He was unreal at 16. It was like then our RBC, we're hosting the RBC, and it's like, Kaiser, where are you? So it's like, Kaiser, we might need to take your Xbox controller away. It might might need to be a thing. It's like, if you don't play good enough, we're gonna need to take this away. But no, and then Bernsey, like Bernsey was the ultimate teammate. Like you talk about any fighter, if it's NHL, AHL, ECHL, whatever it is, he was the prototypical fighter, the best guy off the ice. Soon as you put that helmet on, it just that switch flipped, and he would go after anyone. It didn't matter if he was 6'9", 300 pounds, or if he was 5'8", 150 pounds. Bernsey would show up and most likely beat the crap out of the guy, right? So that was Jeremy Barnes, and yeah, it was like you never felt more safe on the ice than when Jeremy Barnes was on the ice. So that was like, I would take Jeremy Barnes on my team any day. Still to this day, I haven't seen him in 8 years, but I'd still take him on my teams. So,
do you ever have any moments off the ice or just messing around with the boys where he turned the crazy eyes on you?
Oh, there was one time in a hotel room, he put me in a headlock, and I thought I was gonna die. But that was like, I was 16, so he would have been 19. So he took it easy on me. I was like, okay, I'm still a little boy here, and you're a man, so let me out of this. And thankfully he did. But it's like, you go on a road trip and you're in a hotel room. So that was to the extent that I got the crazy eyes. But yeah, I've seen him enough from the bench, thankfully, that I was never a part of the actual crazy eyes.
Well, that's good. What did you do to get yourself in a headlock?
I don't know. I think it was just we were in Cornwall, Ontario, and we were probably there for 12, 13 days, and I wasn't playing, and Bernsey was on the fourth line, so it's probably just a bunch of built-up testosterone where I wasn't playing. Bernsey was playing 4 or 5 minutes a night, and between the two of us, we just wanted to hit someone or be a part of something. And one thing turned to another, but I couldn't tell you what actually happened.
Oh man. And you got to play in a couple RBC Cups, like you said. Just how cool is an RBC Cup to go to? Like, I have not been lucky enough to go to an RBC Cup yet, but just how cool are they in general, and just how fun are they?
Yeah, the cool one, I mean, I remember the Camrose one better than I remember the Cornwall one. But yeah, either way, they're awesome, and it's just a little bit of intimidation, but a little bit just of that courage and that pride that I'm part of the 5 teams as well. So it's kind of like everyone there is kind of walking on cloud 9. You walk past this team and they think they're the best. You walk past this team and they're the best, and so it's a little bit of everything, but all in all, like every single game, it didn't matter. Like it was Portage and Wellington, Pembroke and Vernon, and Wellington, which they came from the OJ, and they were unbelievable. They were really good. Pembroke, same thing. So usually it's the teams from the east. It's usually Alberta or Saskatchewan, and BC. Whoever wins it, right? So, but in that case, Wellington was really good. Pembroke obviously won it, but Vernon was the best team. But then Portage was no slouch either. So it was like every single game was just a battle and a grind. And Portage, like, quote unquote, was the lowest team there, or the worst team there, whatever you want to call them. But I think we only beat them 3-1, 4-1, whatever it was. And it was just like every time you touched the puck, they were just running over you, right? So it was like it wasn't like, oh, we have an easy game. Wellington outshot us. Somehow we won. Our goalie stood on his head. Then we beat Pembroke in round robin, and then they beat us 2 days later in the semifinals. So, yeah, it's just the best of the best and everyone thinks they're the best. That's probably the best way to put it.
And throughout your time, you managed to finally get yourself to the college level that you said you had no idea what it was a few years ago, and you finally get to Merrimack College. What was the process like to get to Merrimack? Did you have other options? Why'd you manage to decide to go there?
Yeah, I had a couple other, I wouldn't say that I considered them. I think Merrimack was just number one and I wanted to go there. Like I say it to this day, because I say it to my players, like every school is different. Every single school, like there's 60 schools and every single school is different. So my brother went to Ohio State, 65,000 students. And when I went to Merrimack, there was 1,800. So like, would you rather go to a school that has 65,000 people, or would you rather go to a school that has 1,800, right? Or would you rather move to a town that has 65,000, or sorry, a city that has 65,000, or a town that has 1,800? So it's like, you have to make a decision where you want to go. And that's just me as a person. I'm a small town boy. I like to know everyone around me. I like to have a relationship with everyone. And my brother just wants to blend in and just be a part of it, but just do his own thing, right? But I want to be able to walk down the street and be like, hey Bob, hey Joe, hey Susie, like that's who I want to be, right? So that's why I chose Merrimack, is just that small school atmosphere, and it was just fun. Like it just you knew everyone. At that time, hockey was the only Division I sport. So they just brought in hockey, and then last year all their sports became Division I. So that was intriguing to me. It was like Division I hockey is the only thing on campus, and it was fun. And everyone went to the hockey game. Everyone enjoyed it, and it was fun on Friday and Saturday, and it's fun on Sunday. So that was a part of it too.
You got any good kind of like memories from your time at Merrimack, being able to play there for 4 years? Like, you got any good sort of memories or stories from those years there?
I wish I could give you like a good podcast story, like a good spit and chiclet story or whatever. But it's like Merrimack was so small, and you could only be on the campus with those 1,800 people. Like I went to school before Uber, right? So getting down to Boston, like downtown Boston, was $90 in a cab. So the amount of times that I went down to Boston was like a handful of times. It was just the best times that we had were going to downtown Boston, but that didn't happen very often because it was $90 to get there, right? And you're a college student, you can't do that. You play on Saturday night, so by the time you get there, it's 2:00 in the morning and everything's shut down. So that didn't happen very often. But like the hockey stories that you can talk about, just like there's so many hockey stories you can talk about that you just go on forever and ever and ever. Like, you play against Kevin Hayes, you play against Johnny Gaudreau, you play against Jack Eichel, like all those guys you play against, and like you're sitting on the bench, like, what am I doing on the ice with these guys, right? Like, you know exactly where they're going, and you know exactly where you're going.
Yeah.
So it's like okay, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna try and win this face off against Jack Eichel or Hayes, or I'm gonna try and kill this penalty where Johnny Gaudreau's gonna thread the needle and score backdoor. Like, so like those stories for me are better to tell. And like, I'm sitting around a fire and I'm bullshitting with whoever I'm bullshitting with. Like, those are the stories I'm going to tell. And I mean, for me, I think those stories are funner for someone to hear as well, right? So that was for me. I enjoyed that more. It's just who I played against and who I tried to battle with, but it didn't really work out.
Do you have like one moment that sticks out in your head where you kind of got maybe like turned inside out, or kind of where you kind of got up and you're like, oh man, like that was ugly?
Well, that was we played against Northeastern. So Benning's running the power play. Was it Matthew Benning, right?
Yeah.
So he's running the power play, and somehow it's best of 3 because it's college, right? We're playing playoffs, and somehow we beat them in 2 games. We beat Northeastern and Benning in 2 games. But the whole thing was that we shut down their power play. They had an unbelievable power play. Kevin Waugh, who was in the Anaheim system and somehow didn't make the NHL. I don't know how he didn't make the NHL, but he was unreal. So him and Benning are running Northeastern's power play. We beat them. We're not supposed to beat them. We're the number 7 seed out of 8, and BU is number 1. So now we have to play BU in the second round. And he's like, yeah, we're all excited we won, but now we have to play BU. And Evan Rodriguez, who's playing with Philly and playing on a line with Crosby right now, and Jack Eichel. That's their first line. And their decor is Grizzlick and McAvoy and whoever else they had on defense. It didn't matter after that because they had those 2.
Oh,
So Eichel is the strongest human being that I've ever taken a face-off against. Like, my players are like, well, what did you do in college? Like, my players look at my stats. They like look me up on elite prospects and like, what did you do in college? You had like 3.5 points in your 4 years of college. I'm like, well, I took face-offs and I killed penalties. That's all I did. So like I tried to take face-offs against Jack Eichel and I killed penalties. That was it. That's all I did in college. So I'm taking face-offs against whoever. It doesn't matter. But Jack Eichel is the strongest human being that I've ever played hockey against. Like, I tried to take a face-off against him and it's just like, he goes like this and wins the face-off. So like, it got to the point we're playing a 2-game playoff series, and it got to the point where I didn't even worry about my hockey stick. As soon as the ref dropped the puck, I would just go both my gloves on the puck. like coaches put me out for a defensive zone draw and says, don't lose the draw clean. I was like, well, what do I do? Like, you're putting me out. You're trusting me to not lose this face-off. So I know I can't. So when the ref drops the puck, I'm going to put 2 hands on the puck and I'm going to win it back because you're allowed to, right?
Yeah.
At that point in 2011, you're allowed to. So the ref is like halfway through the second game when we're losing 3-1 or whatever, and the ref flinches to drop the puck, and I just go drop my stick and put both hands down. And there's no puck there. There isn't a puck there. It's just me with my hands on the ground and no puck. And Eichel goes, really? Seriously? And I got my hands on the ground, my knees are on the ice, and I look up at him like, what else am I supposed to do? Right?
Give away a bit of a tell on that one, eh?
Yeah. I was like, what else do you want me to do? I'm out here to win a face-off. We get the puck out and I change. Like, that's my job.
What was your face-off percentage through your college career, do you think?
It's got to be close to 50. I mean, if I'm thinking that hard about winning face-offs, it's got to be around 50.
Okay. Hey, at least you won a few of those. Like, if you jump on the puck with your hand and you win it back, at least you won a few of them that way, right?
Oh yeah. That's like, I hope I never see Eichel ever again in my life, because if he remembers me, that's all he's gonna say. It's like, oh yeah, you're that guy. You're that guy.
Oh man, that's good. I like that. And your time at Merrimack, you going to school, and then you end up graduating. You become a coach, basically immediately. When did you kind of know that you wanted to be a coach?
That was, I mean, in my fourth year of college too, was like kind of a player / coach. Like, everyone kind of talks about they were a player coach at some points. It was like my coaches at college just kept on saying to me, like, you just need to play. Like, but me, I was just like thinking, like, every single time I stepped on the ice, it was more thinking than just playing, right? It's like I joked about Evander Kane at the start. It's like Kane just showed up and played hockey, right? It was like me, I was the complete opposite. Like, every single time I stepped on the ice, I was like, well, what are the other 4 guys doing on the ice besides me? Like, I better make sure that I'm in the right place for the other 4 guys instead of just worrying about myself. So that was kind of the biggest tell for me, is that I needed to get into coaching, because I worried way too much about the group instead of just worrying about myself. So, I mean, I'm still probably pretty guilty to that, is just, I'm so worried about every single player as well. So it's like, I tell myself all the time, it's like, you just need to just forget about it and go to the next game. It was like, I'm so worried about so-and-so, this happened at this point of the game. He fell over and he usually doesn't fall over or whatever. Like, I'm just overthinking everything. Right. So it's like, that's where I kind of, thought I should get into coaching. So that was the biggest thing for me. And then also I just applied to be an assistant coach for the Kindersley Clippers. Like, I was still kind of thinking about playing over in Europe or coaching. There's just one or the other. And I got that phone call to be an assistant coach, and that came before the playing part. So it was just, it was a little bit of both. But you look back on it, and it's like, thank God that call came first. It's like, I'm not still playing over in Sweden in the 5th league.
Was there any thought at all? Was there any pitch made from your former Kodiaks teammates in the SPHL with the Huntsville Havoc to get you there?
No, thankfully there was none. And thankfully, Kaiser hadn't started his career down in Huntsville yet. So, I mean, if I was a couple years after Kaiser, I think he would have convinced me to go play down there because it looks like he's having a pretty good time. But no, thankfully, I mean, living in the southern United States right now, I mean, we're not going to talk about COVID, but it looks like it's kind of, it's a lot more enjoyable living in the southern states right now than it is living in Canada. But besides that, pretty happy being here right now.
Was applying to go into Kindersley, did you have any kind of like connection there, or was it just like, hey, here's this job, I'm gonna go apply for it?
Yeah, no, he was Jeff Grimwood, the head coach there. He was a first-year head coach, and he wanted, I mean, this is what he said to me. He said he wanted a first-year assistant coach as well. So, I mean, that's what he said. That's, why he hired me or whatever. Maybe I was the only one that applied. Who knows? But that's what he said at the time. So, I mean, you talk about fate or, goodwill or whatever it was, but that's just how it worked out. And thankfully that's how it worked out, because like I said, it was either I was going to play hockey or I was going to coach, and I went and coached. And it was a fun year. It only had the previous coach knew he was getting fired, so he traded every single player at the trade deadline. So I was like, I'm getting into junior hockey, and I already know the politics because that coach knew he was getting fired. So on January 9th, he traded all futures. He's like, okay, on June 1st, you can have this player, you can have this player, you can have this player. So Jeff got the job on June 1st. I got hired on whatever day, and he calls me and is like, okay, well, we have to find 22 hockey players because we only have 4 players. So I was like,
and like the team management signs off on that. The coach just had complete decision making.
Oh yeah. That was the reason why he got moved out. Not to get down to the bottom of it, but that was the reason he got moved out as well. But yeah, it's like that's where I learned the side of junior hockey that a lot of people don't think about, right? Like the trading side of it, the business side of it, the board side of it, the management side of it, like that whole side of it. Thankfully, I learned the very first day I was hired. Like, I was like, how do you only have 3 or 4 guys in your roster? Well, this is why. And
basically an expansion club at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like, but everyone's sitting around. Like I say to so many people, like, it's like, I didn't get to the Camrose Kodiaks as the head coach just because I played for the Camrose Kodiaks. Like, you got to go through so much stuff. Like, there's so many stories, and especially like that first year in Kindersley, there's so many stories. Like, the last thing you do is coach hockey.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be a junior A hockey coach? All right, well, you're not going to be a hockey coach. You're going to do everything else. And then you're going to coach hockey. Like, you stand on the bench and you're like, oh, all right, are you going to coach a hockey game?
Got to order food after.
You know what yeah. It's like, make sure the bus shows up on time. Make sure all the players show up on time. Make sure they all bring their equipment. Like, you're the last person to walk through the room to make sure they all brought their skates.
Because it has happened. Guys have forgotten their skates. I've seen it happen firsthand. Right?
Yeah, and the guys. And the guys that are like like for me, because like the day and age, guys need to know when if they're playing in that game, right? So I tell the guys when they get to the rink, if we have a 2-hour road trip, I say, this is the lineup. These guys aren't playing. So then these kids are like, well, do I need to bring my equipment? Like, well, yeah, bring your equipment. So if someone forgets their equipment, then you can play, right? Like, it's not anything else. Then so-and-so might forget their skates. So then you get to play.
And so you managed to then go, you have 1 year in Kindersley, and then you go to New England College in the NCAA Div 3 ranks as an assistant. What possessed you to switch around and go down south again?
That it was a bit of education. I wanted to get my master's, but it also was a bit of I wanted to just do the recruiting side of it, like the Division One side of it, right? So I wanted to I knew I couldn't get a Division One job, but I wanted to live that life. I guess that's the best way to put it. So, like every single showcase you go to, like USHL showcase, NCDC showcase, NA. And then you move north. Then you go to the OJ, go to the SJ, MJ, AJ, and BC. Like you do that whole tour, and it's like Division One coaches do it, but the Division 3 coaches do it too. So that was probably like every single player who retires and calls me and says like, you've done it. What do you suggest I do? The first thing I say to them is go coach Division 3 hockey. And like I've probably told, I've told a lot of guys to do it. I've probably told like 20 guys to do it. Probably 8 guys have done it. And you wouldn't guess, like it's probably 2 to 3 guys that have made it through the Division 3 cycle, because Division 3, there's no money, right? It's a small college. They don't have money for an assistant coach. So how they paid me is they just paid my room and board and my food and my education, right? So that's what I say to these guys who get out of hockey is like, you're going to figure out really quickly if you love to coach, because you're not getting paid anything. You're getting your room and board and education paid for. But after that, it's like, if you're looking for a paycheck, if you're looking to make $100,000 a year, like that's not coming. You're getting $0 a year. So that's where I say it's like, everyone's like, oh, you're the head coach of the Camrose Kodiaks. Like that's the craziest thing. Like you must have had like some pull to get there, like whatever. It's like, well, you want to live my life? I was living in Kindersley, Saskatchewan for 2 of my years. And then I went to Henniker, New Hampshire, which is the middle of nowhere, and made $0. Like if you want to do that, be my guest, right? Like it's like, I know what I did to deserve it, but like everyone else is like, well, you must have known someone or had some dirty pictures of someone or whatever, right? So that's like, it was like, no, I put in my time coaching Division 3 hockey, but in the same sense, I'm making fun of Division 3 hockey and like what we did, but it's like the absolute total grind is every single weekend you are driving to a showcase. Driving, you're not flying because we can't afford to fly. You're driving to a showcase and you're sleeping in your car, you're sleeping in a hotel, and you're talking to kids that don't want to talk back to you, because every single kid thinks they're a Division 1 hockey player, right? Like now I'm on the other side of it. I'm a junior A coach. My 20-year-olds want a Division 1 scholarship. And I say to my players, I'm like, you have to respect those Division 3 coaches, because in February and March, you might need to call them. So when those Division 3 coaches call you, answer and say, you know what, thank you for calling me, thank you for reaching out, but I'm just trying to play Division 1 hockey, right? So and it taught me how to recruit, because recruiting, it's the same thing. Like every midget AAA hockey player wants something else. They don't want to play for the Camrose Kodiaks. They want to play in the WHL. They want to play in the NHL. They want to whatever, right? So some of these kids don't want to hear from you. So that was it taught me how to recruit kids as well for 2 years. It's like, you're not the hot dog. You're not the guy calling and like they want to hear from you. You got to actually work for it. You got to call their grandparents. You got to convince their grandparents that they should play in Camrose. You got to call their parents, convince the parents that they should play in Camrose. You got to call whoever, right? Brother, sister, dog, whoever, call whoever and convince those people that they should be a Camrose Kodiak. So it's just not call the kid and be like, hey, Camrose Kodiak's where you should play. Okay, thanks. Hang up. Like it's just it doesn't go that way. So that was the best part of being a Division III coach. In a long-winded answer for you.
Well, we are slowly becoming, I guess, the unofficial podcast of the Camrose Kodiaks, I think.
We've
lot of
gotten a
guys
good
with
number of
connections there.
Kodiaks.
Yeah. So, we can help you recruit maybe a little bit.
Well, yeah, as long as well, I mean, you got the Saskatchewan part of it out there, and
Yep.
we got two guys on the team right now, and we're bringing in 3 more. So by probably in 2 or 3 years, we're going to be the Saskatchewan Kodiaks, but we'll see on that one. Well, I mean, and Boris was born and raised in Prince Albert, so he'd love that.
Yeah, hey, there we go. We got lots of connections. It all weaves through.
There's actually one more, Maddie B. I'm not sure if you saw this one or not, but there's one more Cold Hard Sports Talk connection that you've got here. You know what I'm talking about, Maddie B?
No.
In the 2019-2020 season, you served as an assistant coach for the World Junior A U19 championships there.
And
on that team, Owen Ozar was
Ozar.
a member.
Well, you're going to talk about Scott Barney.
And Barn Dog too, yeah.
And
Scott
Barn Dog
as well, yeah. Helped coach that team.
And that's the fun part of those tournaments. Like you guys said when I was playing for Team Pacific, and it's like I couldn't tell you one thing about Evander Kane, right? Like Kane showed up and he just played hockey and he was done and over with it, right? But Ozar was you could tell, and like I said, it was only 10 days, 11 days with him, but you could tell like he was the ultimate teammate and the ultimate player, and that's what I loved about him. And unfortunately, we didn't have any success. We didn't do very well there. But Ozar was one of the bright spots on that team. And just it didn't matter if we were already out of the tournament or if it was the first game of the tournament. He was going, like, the energy level for him and how much he cares, it didn't matter, right? And that's what's going to make him so successful. And it was good to see that he got a full season out of this year and got out of here and went down to the States and played.
Going back 18, 19, you finally find your way to being a head coach. Just how nice is it to actually be able to be named a head coach for the first time in your career?
Yeah, that was like I'm gonna tell the story until I'm blue in the face, and I'm like I said to you guys, like if you want to talk about like getting into coaching and what you got to do to get into coaching, like it's the same thing in everything, right? Like your guys' professions, like you guys could tell the story as well, like what you guys did to get where you guys are as well. You could tell the exact same stories, right? So I'm done my second year of coaching Division III hockey, and my education's up. Like I'm done, I'm paid for it, and I can't come back and I can't work there. So I gotta go back to Canada and I gotta get a job, right? But I'm still taking the last month of my schooling, so I'm trying to make some cash because I'm not allowed to work in America. So I gotta make some cash on the side. So I'm helping build tennis courts. So we're putting like 2 feet of sand down, and we're putting a bunch of soil down, and then some turf. And it's like 40 mile an hour winds, and it's raining, and I'm like, what am I doing? I got an undergrad, and I'm about to get a master's, and I'm hoping to be a junior hockey coach. Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm literally looking up at the skies and it's raining, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I should just go get a desk job and, push papers and do whatever. And I get back to the vehicle and look at my phone, and I got a missed call from the president of the Kindersley Clippers. Like, but it was just like, it's that story. It's like, I'm working a cash job, and I'm just getting poured on, and I got an education. I'm about to get a master's, and I'm hoping to be a junior hockey coach, right? So that was kind of the good story for me, but kind of the funny story as well.
That's almost like the old stories you'd hear of like the band that's getting ready to call it quits, and then as they're getting ready to quit, they hear their song on the radio. It's like
Yes,
just the
exactly.
perfect timing to just reaffirm your aspirations.
Well, yeah, exactly. And you hit the nail on the head, because it's like I'm working whatever. Like you go through this COVID year, and you're like, this isn't anything, right? Like look at where I was. I was pushing sand and making cash in America, and now I can be a junior hockey coach. Like, and I love it, right? Like I love doing what I'm doing right now, but you're going through what everyone's going through, right? Like everyone's going through COVID right now, and you could complain and you can make a big deal of it. It's like, well, you want to go back and build tennis courts, or you want to keep doing what you're doing and push through COVID? Like it's one or the other, right?
Couple more questions for you. You come back to Camrose. What was it about coming to Camrose that kind of drew you back to the Kodiaks?
It was, well, there's a lot of answers to it, but I mean, I think the biggest thing was just getting closer to home. It was 9 years of pretty much living out of my car, my dorm room, or whatever. It's like, well, I need to call somewhere home and kind of put roots down. But also you know the organization, right? Like you can go play for X organization, you're like, well, I'm never coming back there. You go play for X organization, and you're like, okay, well, if the opportunity came and the money was good, you go there. But it's like, if I could come back to the Camrose Kodiaks, I would do it in a second, right? So that had a lot to do with it too. It's kind of just the stars aligned, and also playing for Boris for 4 years, like, you give him props, because everyone that's played for Boris has only played for Boris for 2 or 3 years, because they either start at 18 and then at 20 they're done, or they start at 16 or 17 and they're in NCAA by the time they're 19, right? So everyone plays 2 or 3 years. So I got to play 4 years with Boris, and I knew who Boris was, and we had conversations over the years. So that had a lot to do with it too. My last year of playing with Merrimack, I thought about coaching, so I talked with him a lot. And then probably 2 years before I actually became the coach of the Kodiaks, we talked probably weekly, right? And Boris was thinking about getting out of coaching, or not getting out of coaching, but just taking a step back. So we talked a lot, and he wanted to bring me in, and I said to him, I was like, I need to get my master's. I want to get my master's. So I need to stay here. So it's just kind of, the stars aligned the year that I came here. But just a mix of me wanting to come back to the central Alberta area, and get closer to home as well with my, family and sister and everyone here.
And as we kind of wrap things up here, we always ask our guests this, throughout your career of coaching, playing, whatever, do you have any good stories or any cool stories that we haven't told yet that you think our listeners will find entertaining?
Oh,
I'm sure there's a few.
or even just like a career highlight that that would be fun to share, or anything like that.
Oh man. I mean, it's like it's all been kind of put. It's like every story that I've said, it's kind of like you guys have heard it, but like there's so many, and there's way too many. I mean, I guess well, I get a recap. Like the best hockey stories I can tell, or the best playing stories that I can tell. They either have to do with that first year, or my last year. So you talk about playing with those guys and going to the RBC, and losing in the RBC final. Like that's got to be one of the best years and the best team story that I can tell. And just the players that I was with, and how awesome the leadership was. So that's got to be the best playing story. And then you talk about my last year in Camrose, just being the captain of that team. We were third in the South. So like everyone's like, oh, Camrose is hosting the RBC. They got to be the best team in the league. We were third in the South, so we were probably like fifth or sixth in the whole league. So we take Okotoks, who was the best team in the league, to 7 games, and we beat them. Then we take Brooks to 7 games as a second place team, and we beat them in 7 games. Then we should have beat Spruce in the finals and won the whole league, but we didn't. And we go to RBC. So it's like, it's not any certain story I can give you, but then you go to college, and like I said, playing against Gaudreau and Eichel, like just like awesome. Like it's kind of sad, but I mean, at some point, everyone gets to that point where they talk about playing against someone else, right? Like I say to my players all the time, like, you don't want to be that guy that's just talking about who you played against. You want to be that guy that everyone's talking about, right? Like, so, but here I am sitting here, I'm talking about other players that it's like damn if you do, damn if you don't. But yeah, like that story that I told about Eichel, that's probably my top college story, but it's like that's such a sad story to just tell as a college hockey player. But there was actually my first year playing college, we played in Maine, and I mean, I hope every single one of your followers and listeners knows and has either YouTubed or seen what the Maine Black Bears, like the atmosphere of that rink, and like the things that happen in that rink. Actually, Ben Barr just got hired there today, so that's a good shout out for him. New coach of the Maine Black Bears. Like that's going to be an unreal hire for them because he's the man. But that rink, there's not a better atmosphere in all of NCAA hockey. Like there is not a better place to play hockey. And my one of my players last year committed to Maine. And I was like, it's a no doubter. That's where you need to go play. And because I told him this story is my very first year we were playing a playoff hockey game there. And it's like an NCAA line brawl. Like everyone had their cages on and their helmets on, but it was an NCAA line brawl. It's like everyone's throwing punches with their gloves on and their masks on. And it was unbelievable. Like the students and everything that's going on, like, and they don't have netting in their student section. So during warm-ups, if you hit the crossbar, the puck goes into the student section. Those students, they go and grab the puck and they throw it back at you like you did it on purpose, like you hit the crossbar on purpose. So it's like well, I'm shooting the puck at the net, warming up my goalie, and it hit the crossbar and it went up and almost hit you, and then they whip it back at you, like trying to hit you with it. Like it's just like stuff you can't tell anyone, and just like people are like, well, what's the difference between WHL and NCAA? Well, it's like it's not like big things. It's like NCAA coaches are really good. WHL coaches are really good. Everywhere you go, it's going to be a great experience. But if you go and play NCAA hockey, this is what you get. It's like these little things that are so fun and enjoyable. Like you're going to go sit in calc class with this kid, and then he's going to come and watch you play college hockey, and he's going to chant goalie sucks, and all that stuff. And he's going to tell you about it on Monday, and he's going to love it. Right. So, but answer your question, coaching wise, it was actually that first year in Kindersley. It was like it's probably the best story that I still have until this day. And Matt, you'll probably know who I'm talking about, but I'm going to tell the story anyways. We had this player, like he was the best player in the league. He besides Ball and Albrecht, but besides those two, he was the best player in the league. And but it didn't matter what he did. Like either the refs hated him or he just flipped this switch and like he just took penalties. So I'm a first year head coach, and I got an assistant coach he was awesome. He was the man. So this player takes a 10-minute misconduct and he takes a 2-minute penalty. So he's done for 12 minutes. So they send him to the room. And he's got 4 minutes in the room to calm down. Then he's got the whole intermission for 15 minutes to calm down. And he's still pissed off. He's still so mad, so angry. So I bring him into the coach's room and I sit him down in the coach's room. We're going out on the ice to start the third period now. And I say to my assistant coach, just go, just start the period, just coach. So I'm sitting there as a first-year head coach, and I got this player in my coach's office, and him and I are just having a conversation like, what's wrong? Like, why are you so mad at the ref? Like, I could literally hear the whistle going, like the fans cheering, and him and I are sitting in the coach's office having this conversation. And I'm a first-year head coach. I'm like, this is what I'm doing in my first year of coaching hockey. Like, I can hear like the popcorn popping, the people ordering things from the concession, the whistle going, people yelling at the ref, and I'm having this conversation with one of my players. Like, but it's like everyone thinks like coaching hockey is just like motivating players and changing lines and making sure the right person takes a penalty shot, or you know what I mean? It's like, but then you get into the job and you're sitting there 2 minutes into the third period and you're in the coach's office with one of your players trying to calm him down so he doesn't take another penalty in the third period and lose you the game. Like, so it's like, do you want to get into coaching? Like, this is what you have to do. It's not just, you get to say you're the head coach of this team and you get to blow a whistle at practice and change the lines in a hockey game. Like, that's the last thing you get to do. So that in a roundabout way, that was kind of like, a story that I'll tell forever about coaching, but also comes with the job, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great way to end this on. But Jake, do you have any other questions?
No. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate having the chat with you. I definitely had fun. I'm sure Maddie B had fun too. I'm sure our listeners are going to have fun listening to it.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this, Clayton. This was a lot of fun, man.
No problem at all, guys. It was fun. Like you said, I enjoyed it, and hopefully you get away from the Kodiak training. You guys can find some other guys.
Start talking to some other clubs, eh?
Just how it happens, right?
We're just chipping our way, trying to worm our way into enough connections to get hired.
I wish I would have been before Bernsey and Kaiser, so it would have been better the other way.
Oh, Clay, we appreciate it, man. Thanks so much, and cheers and stay safe, eh?
Cheers.
Hey, thanks, guys.